everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Kat. I've been living in Chiang Mai since 2019. And in this video, I wanted to dive into the DTV. So if you haven't already heard, I got the DTV back in January. And so I wanted to give an update because it's been some time with my experience with it, because I know a lot of people are also still applying, or maybe you're on the DTV yourself. So let's just get into it. So the DTV came out in, I want to say, June of last year. So it's still fairly new, but the DTV is the Destination Thailand Visa. And it's basically a 5-year multiple entry visa, meaning you can come and go into Thailand as many times as you want within that 5-year time frame. But each entry is only good for 180 days. So what most people are doing now is, they're here for 180 days and then they leave, they travel for the weekend, go to another country, come back, and then that 180 days restarts. And you can basically do that for 5 years. And so there's been a lot of questions and confusions with the process for extensions, for border runs, what the DTV actually is, bank accounts. So I'm going to go into all of that. But the first part I wanted to get into in the video is talking about the requirements in general, because I think when it first came out, I think a lot of people were confused because each embassy had different requirements. So, when I applied in the US, I applied to the Los Angeles consulate. When I emailed them, they asked for a different financial number in terms of what I needed to show on my bank statement, which was very different from what they had on the website. And then I talked to other friends who, I had friends who applied in Vietnam or in other parts of the world, and their requirements were also different. So I think now a lot of the Thai consulates, from what I've heard and from friends who have recently applied, is that they're asking for more statements now. So not just the 1 month. So when I applied, I just had to show that I had this dollar amount in a bank account for 1 month. And so now they're asking for 3 months. Some countries are asking for 6 months. And so I think that part can be really confusing, but I think that's always been the same. I mean, even back in June when people were first applying, I think the requirements varied within the different countries that you're applying from. But also just, I think now there's a lot more scrutiny with, people who are using the DTV for things like Muay Thai or for education purposes. So studying Thai language versus before, I feel like it kind of felt like a free for all, if I'm being honest, with people applying for that category. So let me backtrack for a second. So for the DTV, there are different categories that you can apply for. So there's the remote worker, or I think they call it workcation category, meaning you are, let's say, a freelancer or you run a remote business of some sort. And then there's other categories, Muay Thai, education visas. I'm not familiar with the other ones, but those are the two ones that I'm familiar with. And so, yeah, I had one friend who applied for the Muay Thai education program for the DTV. So he found a program in Chiang Mai. And so what they basically told him is that, you have the contract with us, the Muay Thai program, for 6 months. And then after that, that's pretty much it. And so for me, I'm like, well, what does that mean? Like after 6 months, he's just like, you don't have to join another education program and you still get the 5 years, which is fine either way. I mean, I think that's a benefit to some people who are wanting to apply. But again, I think the information is still not clear because some people were told, you have to join a different program or you still have to dedicate some sort of education in some way, if that makes sense. I think for the most part, the documents that they're requiring even now that it's been some time, are still pretty much the same. I would say are pretty standard, but I think they're just being more selective, I think, because so many people are applying. Like for me, they asked for tax returns, my federal and state tax returns. And then for other people that I know applied in other countries, they didn't ask for that. And so, again, it's just something to be cautious of and be prepared for. When I applied, I provided way more documents than I needed just because I didn't want to have to. Every time they ask for additional documents, sometimes it can delay the application. And so for me, I was like, well, I'm just going to submit everything. They can use what they want. And if they need something, they can ask for it. And so that's what happened. But yeah, I think in general, the standard and requirements sounds like they're the same as of now. Okay, the other question that I know a lot of people ask about or there's confusion around is extensions and border runs with the DTV. So I got my DTV in January, but for those who don't know, I was in a motorcycle accident, had to get surgery in April. And so what I did, even though my 180 days wasn't up until I think it was like June, or July actually. I ended up doing a border run in advance of my 180 days because I was getting surgery. I didn't want to have to worry about, traveling and doing all of that when I was recovering. So I did a land border run from Chiang Mai. I left at 7 a.m., came back at 4 p.m., and that was great. I did it with a visa agency, so obviously there's additional cost with that, but for me, it was much cheaper than having to go to another country, hotels, all of that. And so I did a border run to Laos and came back the same day. When I came back, they didn't ask any questions, just gave me the new DTV stamp. Again, I went with the agency, so maybe that, they have some sort of connection. But in general, from what I've heard with border runs, it has been pretty simple, at least from my experience in Chiang Mai and from what I've heard from other people who are also based in Chiang Mai or Bangkok. They might ask, I know in Bangkok, sometimes immigration at the airport can be a little more strict. And so maybe they'll ask, what do you do for work? Where are you staying? That sort of thing. But from my experience, I think it's been okay. It hasn't been there hasn't been any, major issues. So I think there was also a lot of confusion on whether you can do extensions within the country because initially, when I applied for the DTV, I was told that yes, you can do one extension in the country per year, but you do need to resubmit documents. So from what I've heard, it's just been a pain, honestly. I even asked one of the visa agencies in Chiang Mai if they provide support with the DTV extensions, and they said, oh, Chiang Mai is actually not even doing extensions for DTV. And this was back in maybe March. So I don't know if that's changed since then, but from what I've heard, it's just easier to just go and travel for the weekend or for however long and then come back. For me, especially if you have to notarize documents. So let's say, you're applying from another country, you have to notarize those documents, everything needs to be updated. So it's basically applying all over again, including your updated financial bank statements and things like that. So for me, it's just peace of mind to just go and travel and come back. And so there's been mixed reviews about that, but I haven't, at least in Chiang Mai, I haven't heard anyone successfully do an extension within the country. Most people I know have done border runs or just traveled and came back. So the last area I wanted to talk about was bank accounts. And I think a lot of people are really frustrated with this because there was an initial understanding that if you get the DTV, you're allowed to open a bank account. But I think what people forget is that the DTV is technically a long-term tourist visa. It's not a permanent visa. It doesn't give you, long-term residency or anything like that. It's meant to be a long-term multiple entry tourist visa. And so a lot of people are coming here and expecting to open a bank account and they're not able to. And so it also has to do with a lot of the tax regulations and the new laws that are coming into place. There's nothing set in stone yet, but I do know a lot of banks are becoming more strict with who they're allowing to open bank accounts for. Before you could apply for a bank account on an education visa. From now, I've heard that's not possible. I opened a bank account when I was on a work visa, so that was a little different. But yeah, now it's really difficult to open bank accounts. It's not the end all be all. Technically, you don't really need one. I know a lot of people want to do like the QR scan to pay, but there's another application. I'll have to find the name and I can put it in the description. But there was a new application that was released so that people who do not have Thai bank accounts can still scan to pay. But I think it's very limited. I'll try and find the name of that. But yeah, that's just another part of living in another country. I don't think a lot of countries actually would just allow you to come in on a tourist visa and open a bank account because there's a lot of laws and regulations and things that go into that. I had to change my bank account information because I got a new passport. So I went to my Thai bank, updated all of that information, and they were giving me tax forms, a lot of documents that they never had given me before. And so, yeah, things are just becoming more strict. But so yeah, I mean, aside from that, aside from, the frustrations and the confusion with the requirements and bank accounts and all of that, I mean, this is one of the only options that we have as remote workers in Thailand. Who's to say that they won't come out with something different, or maybe they'll, change the requirements in some way. But for now, it allows me to live in Thailand, so I'm happy. If you have specific questions, or maybe you're struggling with figuring out what steps to take, I offer one-on-one calls. You can find the link in the description. It doesn't just have to be about visas. Maybe you have questions about housing or just transitioning to life in Chiang Mai in general or in Thailand in general. I'll put the link in the description if you'd like to hop on a call and do that. I'm happy to do that. But other than that, I will see you in the next video. Bye.